Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we actually begin our agenda for our regular meeting, we do have a special presentation that we'd like to make. The commissioners, our court director, our staff, on behalf of all of our lessees and businesses, we want to welcome Coach Luis Zarate and some members of the 2006 State Champs Porter Soccer team. Everybody please stand.
That's your everybody do that back. Congratulations.
Good job.
Hector, sit down, Hector.
Commissioners, why don't y'all come up here up front? We have a special gift for these guys. Let's see, I want Coach Zarate up here, and I want the other commissioners.
Let's do it.
Put you on TV, okay? And guys, why don't you guys come back over here? You guys are the ones that did the heavy lifting out there on the field. You guys come up here as well. We'll get the camera right here so your folks can watch.
Let me go ahead and introduce them.
Sure.
Let's see, we got Aldo Sierra, we have a senior, playing up there, senior defender. Christian Sierra, the brother, he's a left defender. We got Peter Ruiz, a defender on the right side. He's a sophomore. Arturo Puig, which is an assistant coach. And this young man right here is a freshman.
Oh, man.
He's
3 more years of hell.
Yeah, and he's currently playing on the U.S. National team.
What's his name?
Mario Perez.
Well, our hearts are filled with pride for you, Coach, for all of your players. When the story came out in the newspaper about how the team, how the UIL doesn't supply rings for the state champs. Can you imagine that?
No.
And my wife told me about the story, and the idea started off with us contributing to your fund to try to get a ring, but I then kind of took that idea and called Vicki up, and our public relations director.
Should Vicki come up?
Vicki should come up here. Come up here, Vicki. Come up here, Vicki. So I called Vicki up and I said, you know what, Vicki, rather than it just being a couple of people contributing, why don't we open this up to the entire port community? Why don't we put out some flyers? And Vicki had this ready in an hour, guys, less than an hour. She had a flyer done, and we invited all of the commissioners, we invited all of our staff, we invited businesses here at the port, people here that came and visited our meetings. We invited them to open up their checkbooks to show our appreciation to you guys to help with your ring fund. And I'm happy to tell you that in a month or less of collecting, 2 weeks of collecting, we're presenting you checks totaling $1,840. The thanks goes out, as I say, to our commissioners, to our staff, to the businesses that have contributed. You've made us all very proud. Today our heart is heavy with the death of Earl Woods, Tiger Woods' father. But you made us all very proud. I also want to tell you guys this, and then I'll turn it over to anyone else who wants to say something. You guys probably are known in your houses as son, or brother, or coach, or cowboy. But after that game, you guys are known now as champions. And also heroes and role models. So just remember that. You walk around this town now as an ambassador for Brownsville. With all of this talk about immigration and marches and who is and isn't American, you've made us all very, very proud. As Brownsville, representing Brownsville on a national stage. And we thank you for that. And son, you got 3 more years to give us some more space. Congratulations.
Well, I just want to say how proud I am of all of you all, and I'm proud of Pepe. He's a friend of mine, and I'm very proud of you and everything, all your accomplishments. And I just want you to know that right now I don't think you all know how wonderful it is that you all were able to win, and now for the rest of your lives be considered state champ.
Absolutely.
And I think that will only grow with time, and you guys will learn to appreciate it more and more. And just thank you for playing your hearts out.
Yes. And the money, the UIL doesn't allow us to just buy the rings from, so they're going to have to work for it. we'll put this deposit into the Texas State Bank account, and they'll be working the hours at Lucria, Cardenas Motors, until they pay for the rent. So that's how it's gonna work, you know, if anybody, so if anybody out there, you know, it's Texas State Bank and working for Porter Soccer State Ranks.
Anybody else want to say something?
Well, you know, I watched just the last goal. I don't know who kicked it, but I seen the goal go in, and the guy from the other team saw that and he just went. And I see that our team go, wow! I knew you guys had won it then. Good job.
That's great. Well, thank you for letting us share in this joy, and you honestly, we're all very, very proud of you guys. But just remember, you're now role models and heroes. Anybody else want to say something?
I'd like to just add that, you know, congratulate all the players, you know, on behalf of the staff of the port, and Vicki really did take that over and take the lead with that. I want to thank her very especially for that. But I sort of wanted to ask a question. As you were going through this, what were, maybe a couple of players could tell us what they were feeling. Did they know they could do it? Did they feel strong? Were there moments of weaknesses?
Well, we can go with the freshman first. See what was going through his mind.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
I was very excited because being my first year and being champs is amazing.
Okay.
Peter?
Well, it was kind of a strong opponents, but we still couldn't take them. We went with our minds on winning that stage, and we were thinking about that title since we went over there.
Awesome.
That's good.
You know, and then the thing also, the young leagues, you know, that's where all these things,
Right.
you know, they start their league.
Boys and-
Boys and high, you know, it all starts from down there. A lot of times I'll hear them tell stories, well, you know what, we went to Austin this weekend, we won the tournament over there and all that. So they've been competing with these boys, you know, quite some time. Once we had to do it at the high school level, and, you know, and put it together, and, you know, so recognition to all them, you know, they've done a wonderful job, you know, back then.
Well, that's a stepping stone to a lot of other successes in your individual life, so keep it up.
You know, I'm sure you all know that Pepe actually was a field goal kicker for U of H. And my biggest question is, does he still have the leg to kick the
Well, yeah, every once in a while I'll do a little 32-yarder with the wind. But, yes, definitely. Well, people,
Well, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Remember what Tom Brady said about Super Bowl? Favorite one is the next one. Okay. Thank you, Vicki. Cool. Bernie, maybe we can have one on this one here at the court office.
Absolutely.
Sign one.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Let's see. Somebody has their agenda, they can call a question item? There you go. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, we actually need to stand and pledge allegiance. Let's see, Mr. List, if you lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vicki, if you lead us in the prayer.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for letting us gather this evening. We ask that you send your Holy Spirit to take care of our leaders, our board, that you grant them strength, wisdom, and peace. We also ask that you protect our troops, the men and women that are serving our country, especially those in Iraq. Please allow them to come home soon. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. This is the time of our meeting where we have a public comment where anyone in our community can come and speak to an item that is on the agenda. We also have a second public comment period at the end of our meeting where you can speak to an item even if it is not on the agenda. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment? We're checking on that right now. Nope? Okay. We'll move to the first item, which is approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 19th. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item number 2, report of our court director, Mr. List.
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, commissioners and our visitors this afternoon. Thank you for being here. Have a lot of good things to report. I think many of you were aware that the Texas Transportation Commission had their board meeting here in Brownsville last week, and the day before they visited the port, and we gave them a little presentation of what we're doing here, and also took them for a little tour of the port. They were very into the dynamics of what's happening here, the growth, the activity, and they asked a lot of good questions and so on. So this is all related to how we as a port need to work harder to be integrated to land infrastructure, and as we see congestion building on our highways and so on, and to work with them as they have a deficit in their budget for future infrastructure, and how can we get any of those loads, those trucks off of the road, rubber off the road as they say, and onto the water where it works and is feasibly economical. And I'm referring to the railroad relocation project, where 79 of 87 road crossings were relocated. And again, thanks to our good Nino Gutierrez and all that work. The overweight corridor, and of course 511, which is going to be relocated directly into the port. So that will be the southernmost terminus in Texas before you get into Mexico. So that's the main artery. And as we intend to move forward with the truck bridge, this is going to be key. This is the link where it's all hooking up. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of good thought has gone into this, and a lot of good commitments with the funding for that. We have internally discussed the importance of having an exercise for hurricane preparedness, and also for any kind of emergency preparedness. You just can't do enough there, so between Mr. Cavito and the other folks, we're going to do that. You know, we think that we're going to be spared again this year, but what if, and those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves, and not get caught by surprise that all of a sudden everybody's tripping over each other and not knowing what to do or where to go. So that's very important. Announcing also this afternoon that we had our cargo stats back for March, and good news is that we're up. We had a record year last year, the best in 70, and I've mentioned that several times. Very proud of that. But we're breaking that record again this year, month to month so far. We've had, you know, February was a close call, but March is really looking good. And also monitored that with BRG and the number of cars that Norma and those folks over there are moving, and she was way up in March over the previous year, 3,500. In
It's
April,
actually
you gave me April, that's correct.
3,600
Versus like 3,000.
3,200.
3,200. So just little thermometers of what's going on here, and that we are going forward in a big way. We're going to have on the 17th, we've been working hard, both Tony and Herman and our Northeast representatives to pull together the possibility of a container operation out of the Port of Brownsville. So we're taking little small steps. We've announced the fact that we have two container operations already, one getting in place and the other been in place for a while. These are bonded facilities, and along with that, Osprey, which is a line that was here before, is now gearing up to talk to us again about a service. We're being a little more humble about it and saying, well, let's start with a service from here to Houston, and that's what you call COB. It's container on barge service, and it'll be pulled by a tugboat. And so if simple works, that's the route we're going to go. And they're coming here on the 17th, want to have a serious meeting with us on, and hopefully we'll come out of that session with a schedule, with some dates. You know, maybe that's too ambitious right now, but hopefully that's where the lines will always say, Mr. Ford, how how much cargo, how much revenue from that cargo can you assure us? So that's the challenge when we really get down to talking business. And of course, had jump-started that service before and didn't make it for whatever reason, so we have to go back in confident that it will be an ongoing service. Maybe some of you have seen in the Department of Homeland Security new measures, concerns about tightening our security at the ports even more. And we're being requested additional information, and this right now refers mostly to our restricted areas like on dock. And so there's a certain amount of new information that we have to comply with giving to Homeland Security, and we will be complying with that in support of all of those efforts and keep us safe. We're continuing to try to activate the access to the property north of Villa del Sol. We have several hundred acres up there that have limited access, so we have met with the owners of some of the property over there, Nino Gutierrez and myself, to begin understanding, or discussing how we can work out an agreement for perhaps purchase a strip of land for access, and then there's a lift station that needs to be in position there, and then we're going to try to work out something with them to cost share in that lift station, so that that will open up access to our property to begin offering it and developing it, and as it is an area in the unsecured part of our facilities. One little project that I think is noteworthy, we have an area where there's some sulfur deposits, and the environmental challenges are always a concern. Again, our engineering department, Nino Gutierrez took the lead on this, that he thought internally we could deal with that problem, and has been running some tests and doing some different exercises there. And little spots, just putting dirt and turning it over and see if they can get vegetation to grow. It's been positive, and now they're putting dirt on the whole area, hoping that will work. And apparently the results are positive. And I think what it means to us is something that we've been and are trying to improve our management in every way possible. How can we save internally and be creative with problem solutions? And I think that this will give us, if it works like it's going right now, a savings of about $200,000, maybe a little bit less, but in that neighborhood. And I want to thank Nino for taking the initiative on that and always looking at how we can do things bigger, better, and cheaper. We have been invited. I've been invited to speak in a couple of weeks to the Association of Maquiladoras. I think this is very important as we're pulling together, hopefully, a container service. This is all blending together because you have to have those freight commitments. They move big numbers. They haven't really had options. As fuel prices go up, it makes it more feasible to put a container on the water, to go to Houston to connect to other destinations on other container routes and so on. So very pleased that they contacted us for that purpose, and we'll get time for a 10-minute presentation. And this is the association, so we'll have the major players in the room. Will be at the Sheraton here on the 13th of May. The chairman and I traveled to Houston last night, yesterday evening, invited by AmFels as they had their annual reception, and it was a very good event. It was a very good networking. You always learn something. You meet some people, and conversations lead to more things. We were brainstorming with a couple of the people from AmFels about how do we expand their business for their sake, for the future of the port. And they're very interested in interacting to see how we can do that. They have the dry dock over there. The dry dock is sort of in the way of future growth, so how can we maybe work together and find a way to move that around and be able to increase the area where they can receive additional rigs. And you've probably seen that there's a couple out in in the channel, you know, at our docks there that are waiting to, they're queued up, they're waiting to get in to be rebuilt or something added onto them. So their business has been good, and they see a lot of demand in the future. And of course, that demand could go up with a heavy storm season as well. We're thinking about, and I think several people have been separately thinking about the same thing. On our next regular board meeting, I think will be the 24th, is sort of have a little presentation on part of different ones of us, as far as, you know, something like a little state of the port update, maybe on behalf of the commission and on behalf of the port, and maybe bring in our consultants and maybe bring in our representatives from the Northeast. Let's all get an update and sort of say, well, this is where we were, understand it, what lessons did we learn, what can we do better, and let's move on. So, and this is what we're going to be looking for in the future as we move forward on the master plan and some other things, become organized in our objectives and so on. So I think if we can get our information, everybody together, that will sort of be the date. We may have to move forward a little bit. Further, we want to reach out a little bit more, be a little more aggressive in our marketing, and so we've sort of highlighted some of the areas that we want to visit, and Chile, Peru, Ecuador, all of those have, Chile has perishables. They come into the United States in big numbers in other areas, and why can't we be a player in that as the valley is growing, Matamoros, you know, all the things with Walmart, HEB, and HEB is now talking to us, interested in learning more how they can, you know, get perishables directly in here without having to pay the expensive over-the-road cost wherever they can afford to do that. So, you know, we also want to visit Guatemala, Honduras, over Puerto Cortes, Honduras. You see a lot of melons moving during the melon season into the United States. We feel we can draw those in here with charters or liner services directly into the Port of Brownsville. And talking with some people that I used to work with in Del Monte and McAllen, we've got some good conversations going, and they're the gurus in the melon business, can help us out, as that distribution is very important throughout the valley when the melon season comes into play, which is November through May each year. Our Northeast representatives have been very active, and we'll have more updates as we go. They have been, you know, contacting the steel traders, which is the center of a lot of our business, so that we get in front of more people to add on tonnage to our existing cargo. And we have asked them also to include our own marketing folks in any of those, and we've asked them to look heavily into forest products, which we want to build that commodity into our port. And so I think Tony's going to be going up with them to make visits in New Jersey, New York here shortly, to understand more, and for them to understand that the Port of Brownsville really wants their business and really work hard for it. And that is all I have this afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. List.
You're welcome.
Next item, item number 3, report from the chairman of the board on the 2006 Port of Brownsville International Bridge Committee and its members. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a follow-up to our last meeting, at which time I announced the creation of a new bridge committee and appointed 3 members of that committee: Mr. Parker, Frank Parker Jr. as chairman, Mr. Ken Schaefer, and Mr. Emilio Sanchez Sr. I also indicated that I would be appointing 3 additional members to this committee, also from the private sector, from Matamoros. Today I have one of those names to present to you for appointment. His name is Ernesto Velarde Danache. Ernesto, as many of you know, is an attorney licensed only in Mexico. He was admitted to practice in 1982 after receiving his law degree from the Universidad Regiomontana. He holds an LLM from the University of Cambridge in Cambridge, England, and has attended different courses pertaining to international law in Mexico, the United States, as well as the Hague Academy of International Law in the Netherlands. He was the Mexican representative to the International Year of Peace Conference held at the United Nations office at Geneva, Switzerland. He is a member of the Cambridge Graduate Lawyers Society and the National Association of Corporate Lawyers of Mexico and the Mexican Bar. Ernesto has been associated with the largest corporate law firm in Mexico City, as well as with a local international law firm here in Brownsville. In 1988, he started his own practice as a Mexican lawyer in Brownsville and Matamoros, Mexico. He has since opened up an office in Reynosa and has an affiliate office in Monterrey, as well as another office in Mission, Texas, and provides legal services on both sides of the border, including to the maquila industry. Ernesto has spoken about Mexican laws in many different countries, such as the United States, Canada, Italy, France, England, Mexico, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. He has built a very extensive network with most agencies of the municipal, state, and federal governments in Mexico. Ernesto is the president of the Matamoros Business Development Committee, a past president of CODEM, a member of the International Bar Association, Toastmasters International, the Brownsville Rotary Club, and the Brownsville Economic Development Council. Most of you know him as the host of a live Mexican television show by the name of Consentido Común, which airs on Channel 7 on Televisa. He is fluent in English, Spanish, French, and Italian. He can definitely help us get the job done for us in Mexico. He has a personal relationship with the governor of Tamaulipas as well as the mayor of Matamoros. I've talked to each one of the other committee members, Mr. Parker, Mr. Schaefer, and Mr. Sanchez, and they're all extremely excited about welcoming Ernesto aboard. Ernesto has told me on behalf of the other commissioners that he's honored to serve in this capacity. I can tell you, gentlemen, that the committee is already hard at work. One morning I woke up, not quite at 2:30, but I had an email from two committee members that was sent at 2:30 in the morning. And actually, one committee member sent another committee member an email at 2:30, and the other one responded at 2:35. So these guys are working around the clock. I'll let you figure out who that committee member is. I didn't wake up at 2:30. I had it in my mailbox. There's some great things happening with the committee. I will brief the rest of you in an executive session about some goings-on, things that we can be positive about. Remember, we're trying to build a truck bridge. We have a ticking time bomb out there called the overweight permit, and we've got to get this truck bridge built before that overweight permit expires. Ernesto will be a valuable member of this committee. I will have up to 2 additional names to present to you at a later time. As soon as I make that decision, I would invite each board member to continue to talk to me about who they would like to sit on this committee. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend, hopefully by next meeting, we'll have the other 2 members appointed and put it on our agenda that we approve these members so they can get up and running as soon as possible.
I'd be happy to entertain that, Commissioner. Thank you very much. All right, moving forward to our next item. Item number 4, consider an act on bringing Dock 16 back on schedule, including taking all action necessary to do the same.
Who took it off?
That's what I want to know.
Was it ever taken off?
I think we're behind schedule. And I heard that said at the last meeting, and that's why I put this item on the agenda, to get us back on schedule. So,
Would you like for me to address that? Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. It's just, you know, the legwork building up to this. We are looking at still being pretty close. This is a realistic schedule, and looking at October of 2008, which is a finish time, a completion time much shorter than Dock 16 was built. Dock 15, I'm sorry, Dock 15 was built. So I think we're pretty much on track, and we'll have a presentation today regarding the funding and how we're gearing up to do that. And as you know, you approved, the board approved to go forward with the engineering part of it, and that is in motion. I would like to add any comments that Hector would like to add to that as far as what's the schedule with the engineering.
Well, as authorized by the board, we began negotiations with HDR, Shiner Mosley, out of Corpus Christi. Earlier today, I received a proposal from them, what they call a lean proposal, without having the benefit of looking too carefully and to make sure that all the tasks that need to be included are there. The numbers look good. Basically, their initial cost right now is about $574,000. Similar services for Dock 15 were about $918,000. Again, let me qualify that. I have not had a chance to review to make sure that we're covering all the different aspects, the electrical, the mechanical, the buildings, some of the geotechnical and dynamic testing. With the numbers that I was given today, I feel comfortable that we will be able to bring to you an agreement by our next board meeting on the 24th. And if I go by the schedule that was presented by Mr. List on that presentation, we're off about plus or minus 2 weeks.
Hang 'em up. And
Thank you for keeping us on track with that.
is that, so what, do we need to do anything today to bring us back up to schedule, other than the next agenda item? Is there anything that we can do to bring us back up to schedule?
Not at this point. Let me also add that the Corps of Engineers permit has been submitted. I submitted it on Monday afternoon, so that has already started. If I look at the funding schedule that is about to be proposed, I think we are pretty much in par and in line to proceed as planned.
2 weeks behind? I can live with that.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't become 2 months. Okay. Any questions on that item before we move to the next? Item number 5, consider and act on adopting a financing plan for Dock 16. Mr. List?
Yes, that the previous item segues into presentation. I'll ask Larry Jordan to come up and give the views on that and how well that's moving forward.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Larry Jordan with Strada & Hosa. Also here is Luis Elizondo Thompson, who's in our San Antonio office, and he's been involved in some of the conference calls we've had on this, and he's also prepared some of the material we're going to talk about tonight. Long and the short of it is we are certainly not going to slow anybody down. We're ready to go. You have had some presentations from people that are interested in providing the funding, and I think where we left it last, we generally talked about the idea that your best alternative is more than likely to sell first lien revenue bonds, and that you may either do that in a public sale to an underwriter or in a private placement. And right now, we're recommending that we pursue both alternatives until things settle out, meaning, until we get a handle on where the private placement rates would be, and until we get a feel for where the municipal bond insurance might price. And then I also mentioned last time that we do have some items that we've coordinated with your auditor on. We need to resolve the impairment issue, we need to present the audit, and we need to prepare a coverage certificate. And so we've integrated all those things into a timetable to show you how things will go. We were asked to assume that you're going to borrow about $10 million, and that's to the extent that you need to borrow more, you have some capacity to do that, and to the extent that you have cash that you want to apply, well, that certainly is always available to you. The first page is just the start of a distribution list to let you know that we have been working with your staff and with bond counsel. Paul Martin has been here and spoken with you before. And we have some holes because we may or may not have an underwriter, we may or may not have a bond rating, we may or may not have bond insurance. But everybody else is pretty much ready to go. The next page, we start with today, and we've highlighted in the bold the actions that will be taking place at your board meetings. We will be talking in the next few weeks. Basically, the next few weeks, we're talking to some of the private placement sources. And I got a call as recently as yesterday, I guess, that folks are hearing about it and interested, and so there's going to be 3 or 4 people that we're talking to. We're going to send them copies of your resolutions and your financial statements and a brief description of the project. And we're going to say, hey, tell us how your rates are set. Tell us what terms you might have. Tell us how long it takes and what approval process is. Tell us about your previous, work with the port or different customers in the port. So we should have a feel here in the next month or so about what's out there. At the same time, I think, and we've highlighted this on May 24th, we're going to resolve the impairment issue hopefully by that time, according to your auditor. And at the board meeting on May 24th, you will be presented with a reimbursement resolution. It basically says, to the extent that you start spending any money on the project, you can be subsequently reimbursed when the bonds are sold. So that allows you to really, get things moving even before you close on the bond issue. June 7th is the time that the auditor thought that the audit might be approved. That's very important for us. And then shortly after that, June 9th, he thinks he has the coverage certificate. We are moving in June towards putting together some of the documents. Now, it's very likely that the placement sources will say, I really don't need any document. If that's the case, and if we are able to do that, that'll save cost, it'll save time, and we'll certainly pursue it. We'll be back to you on June 21st to select a private placement source or an underwriting team. We'll bring you a recommendation that says, we've talked to these funding sources, and here's what they've outlined, and either this is the way to go, or we think that you should be in the market with a regular public sale and underwriting, and we'll propose a team to you. Certainly, if you encounter folks that are interested in the placement role or the underwriting role, steer them towards us. I'm sending them to Debbie, and Debbie's sending them to me, and we're telling them the same story. But anyway, we'll have a recommendation for you on the 21st. After that time, if it's necessary for us to produce documents, we will. If it's necessary to obtain ratings, we will. If it's necessary to obtain bond insurance, we will. So that we can be back to you on July 19th to ask you to approve a resolution selling the bonds. And after that point, it takes just a few weeks for the Attorney General's review and the Controller, make sure the money in the bonds head in the right direction. And August 17th, we should be able to close the bond issue and receive funds. Just for your information, we showed you on the next page. This is, I would say, worst case, meaning higher rather than lower estimates of the fees. And we've marked some of them to say to the right, if required. There's an incidental fee for the documents that may not be required. There's a fee for bond counsel. There's a fee for a paying agent, it's pretty small. Fees for rating agencies, which might be required. Out-of-pocket expenses is a miscellaneous category. I'd be shocked if we had that much expense. There are computer fees and copying, telephone, again, miscellaneous charges. Our fee is there for a total we don't expect to exceed $150,000. After that, it may be necessary to pay an underwriter if we go to a public sale, and that might be a number like $70,000. And the bond insurance is almost $500,000, and that may or may not be required. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, why in the world did we spend $500,000 for bond insurance and $70,000 for an underwriter? It's all going to depend on what we hear from the people that have spoken to you before. Interest rates, if somebody charges a 5.5 instead of 4 3/4, doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot. And so, we'll be very aware of what is it costing you in out-of-pocket and what is it costing you in interest rate, and net, what is the best deal for you. And then we've shown you finally what the, and the insurance, I think we've talked about that a little bit. This is high side. This is what somebody bids when they think they're the only bidder. And that's the situation that we've had lately, where we ask a bunch of guys and they say, no, we don't really like courts, or we don't really like people that have hurricane risk and this kind of thing. But one of the things we're going to be spending time on in the next few weeks is really trying to get some more attention from the insurance companies. We try every time. We haven't gotten too much attention, but we're going to give it a good shot. And it's possible that if we can interest a few people, that fee can come way down. And then finally, we've shown you the estimated debt service. We show you in column B, this is your existing first lien bonds. Column C is the new debt service. It'll be in the, we're estimating conservatively in the $800,000, $850,000 range. And then we show you in column E, you also have some junior lien bonds. Column F is the total. So your requirements are going to go up by about $800,000 to $850,000, and we think you can comfortably afford that with the revenues that you have. We do show you also, it's in red in the corner, it's also at the bottom of C38. We said we'd be selling $10 million. if we had to pay as much as $150,000 issuance costs, and if we had to pay an underwriter, and if we had to pay insurance, that would net you $9,286,000. So that's another thing that we'll be watching as we go along. Where are these issuance costs shaking out? How much net proceed does a $10 million issue will generate? And make sure that we get you fully funded. We certainly don't want to build half a dock. So, anyway, that's a lot of information in a short period of time, but glad to answer any questions. But I think the moral of the story is that we are well on our way, that the path is pretty clear, that we'll be back to you virtually every month with a status report or a request for action, and we're ready to go.
Well, just, you know, there's the possibility of direct financing, and this is the exercise that Larry is presenting us before floating the bonds, and we have asked him, challenged him to, you know, bottom line, what is the best benefit for the port, and that's what he's spending a lot of time doing, and you know, again, some of the variables there have no control over, but will try to get us the best situation overall. And this is what we've tried to do, is to make it very, very proactive in shooting towards the bottom line. As we're challenged a little bit with our overall cash, but we need Dock 16. We want to make it go forward, so just get us the best deal.
Right, and the public sale option is one that's pretty easy on a day-to-day basis to say, here's what we think we could do with insurance, and here's what we could do without insurance. So really the placement, we're really interested in seeing what comes in from the placement sources, and whether they, you know, when we rip open envelopes and somebody says, we think we could do this, and we look out in the market, it's either going to be better or worse. They may have terms that are very acceptable or terms that are a little uncomfortable for us. So, but at any point in time, I think we're going to be able to, like I say, we always know what we can do in the bond market with a public sale, and it's just according to the kind of interest we get on whether we get a better deal or not.
I have two questions. The first one's kind of a short one, and I guess it's more for Bernie and for Debbie. Can we afford? Do you agree with his statement that we can afford this $850,000 debt service? Louis?
I do.
Okay. And then the second question is kind of a maybe a larger point, and that is, first of all, I appreciate, Larry, the comment that you made at the last time that you presented, where you commended the board for being transparent in our investigation, and how that has actually helped putting the report on the website, you know, being as open and as forthright as we could be. That's helped our position with our underwriters. And yet we come back to the same point here, because in a related manner, because now we're talking about bonds. And just from the voters' perspective, we're not asking the voters to retire this debt.
No.
We're saying we're putting our own money up to pay for these bonds, while we continue the other work that we're doing in the background for the other monies. Is that correct?
We yes, we're not. This is not voted bonds. This is revenue bonds that can be supported. The transparency is very important, and you have right now a very good bond rating. It didn't drop at all as a result of any of the bridge situations. And the impact that we got was, yeah, that you know, the transparency has been very good, very comforting. Anybody that has questions has gotten answers. I think that the interest that we're getting from the private placement sources is really smart money. It's people that are saying, it appears that the port has difficulties, but the port is very strong financially. The port is very transparent in the way they do business. The port, the bridge situation has not affected the port's revenues. It's not affected the port's fund balances. It's not affected the port's ability to generate money in the future. So I think it's smart money saying there may be an opportunity here, you know, in the market. Folks that take a quick look at this deal and a bunch of other deals, you know, might look past this one. But we've got people coming to us saying, you know, you might be a candidate for a placement because you've got a situation that looks a little sticky, but as we look at it, we're very comfortable. We're not uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, the calls we're getting, they're folks that are in town that are saying, I'm familiar with the port. I know the board members. I know the staff. I know all about the investigation. I'm interested in providing the financing. So.
Well, and along those lines, we're not asking the voters' tax levies to retire these bonds.
No.
We're retiring these bonds with our own self-generated revenues.
Yeah, and I think there's an expectation that the other dock will provide more ability to service more ships and generate more revenue.
So I guess the appropriate thing now would be to board action to approve this financing plan.
Yes.
And just to be clear on the motion, it's to approve the issuance of $10 million in first lien revenue bonds. Is that correct? Is that your second, Commissioner?
Yeah, just to clarify, there's not any bonds, before any bonds are issued, we're back to you several times.
You're
You're authorizing us to proceed and to take any action that's required to prepare you to one day sell $10 million.
$10 million. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
But that doesn't exclude private financing.
And the bonds, we would be selling bonds in either case. In some situations, the public sale would be somebody like a Merrill Lynch or Goldman Sachs steps in, buys the bonds, and reoffers them to the general market. And in the other case, we would have somebody like a Bank of America or Capital One Financial or GE Capital just says, no, you don't have to mess with all that, I'll just take the bonds. So they don't need a document, they don't need a rating, they just take the bonds. It's bonds in either case, it's just a question of how it's offered.
Well, if there's any local bank that wants to offer its services in this regard, they can contact you, Debbie, and you in turn can let us. I know we had some local banks make presentations. We certainly want to make that offer open to any local bank that wants to do that. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? There are none. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. Item number 6, consider an act on adopting resolution supporting the extension of I-37 to the Rio Grande Valley. Mr. List?
Yes, that's in your backup, and it's related to the information in that backup as far as the population in the valley and how we need to increase our infrastructure, and this is our support. Position paper was presented last week to TxDOT on that as a first step, and this is a formal means of support for how we envision 37 and 69 and some of the comments that I made before, how vital this is as it it intertwines with our infrastructure, and when we're moving about 1,000 trucks in and out of this port per day, we just can't support them enough, and that's the purpose of this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Bernie, this is in conjunction with I-69, because we're already on record for supporting I-69. This doesn't compete with I-69, does it?
No, sir, it's in addition to.
Includes.
It's really I-69, but in the resolution that was drafted up, circulated, they put 37, and then we just stayed with the same format. What it adds to it is not only support of I-69 on 77, but also support of 83 to Rio Grande City to be on the interstate, and also of 281 from FAR all the way to I-37, making kind of a loop there on the interstate. The numbers really are immaterial at this point. It's just more support of the interstate, connecting those routes to the interstate more than. And like Mr. Liz said, all the local governments had this resolution passed before we presented the text out, and we just voted off on it.
Well, in reading this resolution, and the resolution is a statement from the board. It expresses the sentiment of the board. It's not binding on TxDOT. They can certainly follow our recommendation. They can certainly read our resolution. But given that it is our recommendation, given our experience, I would like to include language in this resolution, and I'm offering this as an amendment, if it's accepted to the motion, that the Brownsville Navigation District strongly urges TxDOT to not contract with Dannenbaum Engineering in the construction of I-37. We know enough now not to recommend that. So I offer that as an amendment if it's accepted.
You making that as a motion?
As an amendment to the motion. Will you accept that, Commissioner?
No.
All right, we'll have two votes then. We'll have a vote on the resolution as currently worded.
I got a question though. I really, don't care too much for Dannenbaum Engineering, personally. But if all of a sudden now TechStart is working with Dannenbaum Engineering, is that going to put us in a bad situation?
They can contract, Commissioner, with whoever they want, but if they want to know our opinion of the situation, we can express that opinion in our resolution. I think it would be irresponsible of us who know what we know to not express that statement.
I actually, before we vote on it, I actually have a legal question that I would like to ask Daniel.
An executive?
Yes.
Okay. About this matter?
About this matter, because I have another idea, but I don't know if legally we can do that.
Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the resolution as presented. Unless that motion is withdrawn, then we'll have a vote on that.
Can we table this until after?
That's up to Roy. You want to move to table?
Can we move to table, just a question and
All right, we have a motion to table. Do we have a second to table?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, there are none. Item number 7, consider and take action to authorize the staff to advertise for requests for qualifications for the master plan. Debbie?
Yes, sir. I believe Donna has submitted to you all her request for qualifications package, and she's asked me to get your authorization to begin advertising this. We'll start immediately, but her deadline date will be June 5th, which is giving us plenty of time to respond to it.
Talk to Randy also, Dave, that few more people will be interested in this.
Well, I think it's great, Commissioner, that you're moving this committee along as you are. I'm in favor of this. However, I would like to ask Daniel a question. If we go forward with this, Daniel, and proceed with advertisements and RFQs, and we decide later to go with another entity who might want to build our bridge and also do the master plan, would we be precluded from doing so?
No, the request for qualifications says that you're not obligated to hire anybody. You can reject all the proposals.
I will make the motion to authorize staff to advertise for requests for qualifications.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item number 8, consider and act on proposed agreement with the Brownsville-Rio Grande International Railroad and the Port of Brownsville. Mr. List?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We have had several sessions discussing the different items of the renewal of the agreement between the two entities, and since it was an older document, there was a lot of, if you will, cleanup work that we did. I'm happy to announce that I think there's a good result here, and that both parties have come to terms with all the little details that surfaced, and I believe, unless there's any objections, that we're ready to move in approving and enacting this.
You recommend that we approve it as presented, Mr. List?
Yes, sir.
You like with the final product?
Yes, sir. I think we.
Do you like
we
the
have
final
a good working
product?
document.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion.
By the way, I'm sorry, I'll second it, but has your board already approved?
Yes, sir. Roy has, he's going to sign.
Just take a picture. I'm sorry, Mr. List.
No, I'm sorry. There was one misunderstanding. And I think it's a misunderstanding. It's that it was extended to a 17-year, and that was the change from what was the discussion last time here at the board. And that's fine because of the debt service and so on, and we all agree on that. But on the car evaluation amount, I had understood that every 5 years we were going to bring that up for consideration each 5 years of the 17-year contract.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay, well, just to be clear on that, David and Norma and Roy, we have all the principals here, and Bobby. every 5 years, this agreement will be for 17 years, but after 5 years, we'll renegotiate the rate per car for another 5 years. And then in the 10th year, we'll renegotiate again. Okay. So with that understanding,
Yes.
is that your motion, Commissioner? And that's
What is the rate for the first 5 years? $20
Per car. Up from 17 and something.
so basically we'll have 3 renegotiations.
That's correct.
Okay.
On the car rate.
Yeah, just on the car rate.
That's correct.
Exactly. Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? There are none. Item number 9, consider and act on consulting contract renewal, PPSCI Inc. Who wants to address this? Liz?
Well, there's been some back and forth on this contract, but I think where it ends up is it was discussed and pretty much approved in the previous board meeting. Go ahead.
Let me ask Daniel.
Yes.
What are the bones of contention, so to speak, between Mr. DeLay and I guess of the board or Mr. Liz?
The board had approved a contract that was for $15,000 per month for 1 year with provision for the reimbursement of itemized receipted expenses up to $3,000. Mr. DeLay,
And he's in agreement with that.
he has agreed with that.
Itemized receipted expenses up to $3,000.
At one point, he thought there was some confusion, and there was confusion, but when I talked to him on Monday and told him the board voted on this a second time, clarified their position, he agreed to that. There was some wording issues that were rather technical and minor, and he has essentially agreed with the wording we had sent him. The contract he had been sent, however, had a 30-day cancellation provision in it. That had been discussed at meetings. It wasn't entirely clear to me whether it was included in a motion, but he has rejected that. He has essentially agreed to the contract as presented to him, except that he will not agree to a 30-day cancellation. Okay. So that's really, in my mind, what is before the board today is to approve the form of the contract.
Either with or without a 30-day cancellation.
With or without 30-day cancellation. I did not talk to him today. I was told, however, that he had signed the contract without that 30-day cancellation, but with all these other provisions. I haven't seen it. He's in Washington, but I was told he had signed it.
And the 30-day cancellation provision would allow either party to give the other party 30 days notice of cancellation of the contract.
That's correct.
And what's his objection to that?
What he told me was that if he's going to have a 1-year contract, that in effect makes it a 30-day contract, not a 1-year contract. Now, what his underlying business objection is, I don't know. But
My motion, that was not.
I agree with you, Commissioner. However, it's in Mr. Lemunion's contract. Mr. Lemunion...
We were not voting on Glenn, we were voting on...
Right, but Mr. Lemunion has that provision in his, and I think when Mr. Liss was preparing the contract, he naturally assumed that would be in Mr. DeLay's as well. That's kind of the standard clause.
Daniel, do we actually?
Go ahead. I'm done.
Daniel, are we actually right now? Are we voting on something, or are we just being notified that the agreement got signed?
it was signed by him, but it's not been signed by the board.
Okay.
Because the one that he was sent had the 30-day cancellation. Well, he declined to sign that one.
What's the problem with that provision, Commissioner? Even if your original motion didn't have it, what's the problem with adding that?
I don't think we need it, because I would feel it'd be a month-to-month contract. Let's say tomorrow we get a new board, 7 or 8 days is out.
That's the voter's prerogative.
So that's why I say a year. That's the way the motion was made.
Well, yeah.
Bernie, how do you feel? You think we should have a 30-day cancellation clause, or you feel comfortable with not having it?
I think
Put you on the spot.
You puts me a little bit on the spot, and it's I think it's more of a technicality, but you know, I'm familiar with contracts that have that in it, and you know, and they say contracts are as good as the two parties that belong to the contract. So, with it or without it, I think you can always find a way to cancel if you really want to. But
well, I think it's wise, gentlemen, I mean, look, my feelings about this contract are very well known. There's no need to rehash that. I hope we don't make a second mistake and not have this provision in the contract. Here's why I say that. Most political prognosticators say that we're going to have a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate come November. If that's the case, then we've got 2 Republican lobbyists. We're like that tire that's out of balance rolling down the highway, just shimmering at all speeds. It doesn't make any sense for us to deny ourselves that flexibility. What's Mr. DeLay afraid of? If he produces month after month, he won't have a call from us saying we'd like to cancel your contract. That's the best way to ensure that he has a 12 months at $15,000 plus $3,000 a month in expenses is producing. Mr. Lemunion is not afraid of that. He himself has that provision in his contract. You know, I kind of think that what Mr. DeLay wants is a guarantee of payment without a guarantee of performance. I mean, theoretically, what he can do is not show up to work tomorrow or not do anything for the port for 6 months and have an assurance that he will get $15,000 a month for 6 months. I'm not finished yet. It's equivalent to walking into a store that's going out of business and having a sign that says, all sales are final, no returns, no refunds, no exchanges. If we sign this contract, we ought to just pay him $160,000. That's really what we're doing. I mean, what's the pretext about paying him every month? We're just paying him $160,000. It doesn't make any sense. The political landscape is so volatile. It doesn't make any sense to make any plans today for what might or might not happen in November. Let's allow ourselves that flexibility to hire either a different or a replacement lobbyist if Washington changes. Commissioner, you and I know, because we've been there. We looked at hiring another lobbyist, and they won't work with Mr. DeLay. They'll work for us. They have a record of success in major Texas ports, but they won't work with Mr. DeLay. So, look, we honor our contracts. We pay them every month, whether they perform or not.
If we honor our contracts, let's honor our contract. We voted on it last week.
But let's give ourselves an out, Roy.
That was done in my motion, and it was voted for, and it was approved.
Well,
and I've worked with Randy, and he's never let the port down. He's always fought for the port on both sides.
well, things change. Country changes. Politically, the country
On
changes.
the other lobbyist we have that's in his contract, and I think it's been a standard practice to have it in a contract, and I think we should have it in this contract. I don't think our lobbyist should tell us how the
You didn't tell me
contract's
how
going to be. We're going to
I
tell
made
him
the motion,
how.
and you even voted for
Let
it
me
too, Tony.
finish, and then you can talk. We're going to offer him a contract, and it's up to him if he wants it or he doesn't want it. You know, we don't let the lobbyists come and tell us what the contract's going to do. We should tell him what it's going to do.
Let me just say that I have a real problem that we actually, in fact, we did vote on the contract as Roy stated. And I just feel that was done about approximately a month and a half ago, I would say, maybe 2 months ago. And now we're coming back 2 months later and reshaping, because that has never been on this contract. And we're coming back and saying, oh, now it's to our benefit because Democrats are probably going to win, that, you know, we probably don't want to have you. And I think that just sends a bad message to people that work for us, saying that, you know, you're only good for us until, you know, the Democrats win the election. And I think on the point that you just said, we would actually be paying them maybe 1 month after the Democrats take
No,
over.
it starts in April 1 of 2006. We'd be obligated through April 1 of 2007.
So it would be for 2 months that we'd be paying them.
Well, the election would be in November. Committee assignments would be in
But they
January.
don't take-
It'd be for 4 months.
No, 'cause
January.
they don't take over till
January.
January 1st.
January,
So January,
February, March, and April. I mean, why? You know, why? And let me give you the flip side of that. If we know that the Democrats are controlling the House, then we can take steps from November through January to decide what our lobbying team should look like, and not be obligated to pay another lobbyist who's also a Republican for 4 more months.
Well, I mean, personally, I'm just not smart enough to predict who's going to win any
Well, that's
election.
exactly the point.
So-
But you're asking us to predict today that it will be 2 Republicans for the port's benefit.
I think,
And that's not
I
right.
think I'm very happy with what Randy has done for us, especially with the problem we had here with what we were having with our dredging. I think Bernie, to compliment him, he went out and he did a great job, just brand new, not knowing what was going on. He had a lot of support from staff, he had a lot of support from the lobbyists. Without the team, and I'm calling everybody the team, I don't think we would have done the job. And that's worth more than $15,000 that we might be paying them when the Democrats win, if they win. And I'm just, I kind of just want to realistically just, let's just go with the motion and either vote for or against it, and let's move on.
All right, I'll make a motion that the contract with Mr. DeLay be approved on the condition that the port is allowed a 30-day notice of cancellation.
I don't see, are we gonna be going back on all our contracts?
We haven't signed a contract with him yet, Commissioner.
We
haven't
had
signed-
already approved the contract with it, and we had voted on it. So now we're gonna go change it.
We have never
So tomorrow,
signed,
we're gonna sign a contract with Mr. Shiner Mosley and then go back, hey, no,
we haven't signed a...
you're a Democrat or you're a
we-
Republican?
We haven't signed a contract with
We're gonna change
Mr. Los Santos. We haven't signed a contract with him yet.
We
It
already voted
requires
on it. It
board
was
action.
approved. It was approved.
It requires board action to approve a contract. Okay?
Mr. Renfro,
But he
was that contract
rejected,
approved?
he rejected the contract that Dan sent.
Because there was some word in there that was not put in there. That was not part of my motion. Who put it in? I don't know. But that was not part of my motion. So who's playing games?
Was it in the previous contract?
No, it was not in the previous.
There we go.
Commissioner, it's not playing games. It's a matter of protecting the port's money.
No.
It's a matter.
We're playing games
It's a
here.
matter. It's a matter of
Playing games.
protecting Granny DeLay or protecting the port.
Okay.
We're protecting the port.
Playing games.
Okay. I
Okay.
take issue with you.
Okay, you start the
I have the
motion.
motion. We have a second to the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
I'm sorry, is it 3-2? Motion failed 3-2. All right, item number 10. Consider and act on consulting contracts and work contracts.
Wait, I'm sorry. We need another motion on there.
Y'all want to make another motion?
I make a motion to approve the contract as it has been sent back and forth, signed by him, sent by the port to him, signed, and for us to sign it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I'm opposed. Motion carries 3-2. Item number 10, consider and act on consulting contracts and work contracts, A.J. Vossel and Associates, Inc., April 1st, 2006, $2,000.
I so move.
You have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? There are none. Item number 11, consider and take action on items over $10,000, Root and Wisdom, Inc. Debbie?
Root and Wisdom is our pension actuaries, and annually we do purchase order against expenses that we may run up. And we're asking this year for $17,500. That includes our annual valuation of the pension, and then any calculations and work that they do on it as we go through the year.
Mr. Lewis? You in favor of this?
I'm in favor.
We have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
For a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item B, water line extension on north side of channel.
Nemo's has clarified this is a replacement of the existing line that's out there. From Portico on toward the east, we are working on approximately half a mile of water line. It's a cast iron line that they're replacing with a PVC. The materials for this, that's pretty good pricing is $15,750. We have selected a vendor.
Where's the water line going to run? From where to where?
It starts near Brownsville Sanitary along the north side of the channel, and it goes toward the east, and it's at 3,000 linear feet.
Does it follow the road, or does it go through people's property like we've done in
Yes, sir. This is the old original cast iron line that was installed to provide water and fire protection to the old docks. It starts right east of the intersection of Fausch Road and Old Dock Road. And then it runs basically just south of the property line of the Transmountain property, cuts across all the way to Old Dock 5, eventually keeps on going. That will be phase 2 later brought to you. This is just for phase 1 to replace that extension all the way to the end of Old Dock 5. Continues along the channel on our property. And once it gets to where the old U.S. Coast Guard used to be, runs north and joins another, loops to another line that follows the old Highway 48.
So it doesn't cut through other people's property?
No, sir. It's all on our right of way.
I just want to make sure we didn't get into a situation like we had before where people were tapping into the water line.
Let me,
Can
I clarify something?
Going right through other people's property.
Phase 1 will not go to other people's property. When we get to phase 2, then we need to look at that route because it does cut through some of our lessees.
Any new lines, I think we need to put them along the highway instead of cutting across the property. Not do it just the shortest and easiest way. We need to do it the right way where we can monitor it all the time.
Right.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 12, consider and take action to amend the Brownsville Navigation District Code of Ethics to remove Section 1, Item D3 regarding vendor response to the conflict of interest questionnaire. Debbie?
Yes, sir. As we originally understood our responsibilities in regards to this conflict of interest questionnaires, we felt we had to go out and enforce compliance with it on our vendors. We talked to the other, actually Port of Corpus Christi, and their attorney looked at it, and I know Daniel's talked to it as well. And they feel that the law is very clear that it is their responsibility to file these forms with us. It is not our responsibility to make sure that they file them. It's been an administrative nightmare for us, and we would like to remove anything that we don't have to do in regards to this. So we are still required to send them the forms, to notify them that there is a requirement, and they're not required to make sure that they are filing. And this is the section that we need.
I just would hate to do something that would kind of put us in a position of having a forked tongue where we're saying we have a code of ethics, but yet we're not insisting on compliance. How can we?
Well, my suggestion, and after I think this went out, Debbie and I talked, I don't know whether you have a list of disapproved vendors or not.
We have the ability to make one in our policy.
But you really have two questions. One is, does the failure to file this form invalidate a purchase? And that is causing them a nightmare back there. My suggestion was the way you would enforce the requirement is to put someone on a list of disapproved vendors and say, we're not going to buy from you anymore if you refuse to file this form. But we're not in a situation where you've got maybe an arguably void or voidable purchase, because I don't think the law requires that. But you could say, look, we have a policy. If you're not going to comply with it, we're not going to buy from you anymore.
I like that approach better than sort of waiving the requirement, but operationally, how would that work? I mean, would we, in essence, honor the contracts and the current agreements and transactions of those vendors, even if they have not completed this questionnaire, but then make this action prospective?
Well, I think really what we're talking about is not so much contracts that would be signed by the port, because their staff can say, I'm not going to present that contract to the board for signature until you give us this form. What we're really talking about is purchases out in the market that are below the contract level, but where perhaps they get 3 quotes, whether it's supplies, parts, whatever it is. Those vendors are required to file those. As a practical matter, if you go to a grocery store or a hardware store to buy supplies, having to say, I can't pay you till you fill this form out is a problem. But they only have to fill it out once a year.
Right.
So if we were to say, we're not going to shop at your store anymore unless you get this form filled out, that would
Well, let me ask you this. Would it put you out, Debbie, if we tabled this until our next meeting? In the meantime, that proposal can be put in an agenda item, which I think may have an effect of causing those vendors to submit their disclosures, which hopefully would keep them in play to begin with. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is that a problem for you, Debbie? Would that be a problem for you to do? Anybody have any objection to tabling it for that purpose?
Motion table.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Debbie, on requiring that, do you think that it's going to make it harder for you to get 3 bids each time you buy something? Because that's one thing that we want to do is get 3 bids.
We're not having problems on a lot of our local vendors. Our local vendors are very good. We're running into problems with people like HEB and Target and Home Depot. Our national chains do not want to do this. The local folks are unable to. They send them off their national offices
And what is it that we're asking them to disclose, by the way?
if they have, actually the question is if they have any taxable income that goes to any of a list of people that we provide the commissioners and the staff. It's a very simple question, or if they've given us any gifts. It's a very simple question.
Not asking too much.
I believe that part of the problem, frankly, is when you ask that from a publicly traded company. Because they would have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
I mean, any one of the people on the list could be a shareholder in Walmart.
Yeah.
And how would the local manager even know? And he receives income from companies.
Yeah, I can see that point of view.
Yeah, I
Well,
think.
can't we reword that part of the code of
And that may be
ethics?
what we want.
Yes, I think that would
The
be
entity.
another change you could make. would be
In
to have
conjunction-
some kind of special treatment for publicly traded companies. Because, I mean, Walmart's got millions of shareholders. How would the local manager even know?
But once again, it's just done once per year. You know, they get their disclosure on file, and it's good for a year.
Our problem is getting a main office in
Well,
another
let's-
state to comply with.
Let's look at a fine tuning of the language in the code itself at the same time that we're taking this other matter. We have a motion and a second to table. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think it's more important that we make sure we get 3 bids every time than we limit ourselves to
And
1
on
bid.
the things that we're buying locally, we're not having problems. We really not.
I think it's important we don't change something where we don't get our 3 bids. I think we need to get our 3 bids on everything.
And what you're saying is it's not chilling that competition. Okay, I'm sorry, have we voted on the motion to table? Any further discussion?
No, we haven't voted.
Yeah, any, on the motion to table?
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
No, we're about to vote right now. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item number 13, consider and take action to declare the improvements on the ex-Liberty Engineering site surplus to the district's needs and to authorize the salvage auction team to dispose of them by demolition and to dispose of various other materials on the site.
Mr. Liz, kind of brush on what we're doing over on the Liberty Engineering site. That's the site called Sulphur on it. We were out there the other day looking at what Joe was doing as far as filling that site, and we noticed that there are 2 sulfur tanks on that site that are going to need to be removed if we're going to lease it out sometime in the future. Joe's in the process right now of removing some of the tanks over at Buster Harris. We thought we'd get the same person to look at these at the same time. Perhaps get them all done in Alberta. So we're asking you to declare the surplus and give us authority to see if we can find some way of getting them out of there.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 14.
Peter, while we're on this subject.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask Debbie some more
Sure.
questions? What about Buster's site?
Joe's been working on that quite a bit. We are ready to start clearing the 2 warehouses on the north side. Those have been declared clear
We're going
asbestos.
to bid out the buildings?
The buildings are coming down. The buildings are going to be removed.
Tear them down? So then you're not going to have any buildings left on Buster's?
No. The 3rd building that's there, his office building, has asbestos in it. And we're getting bids on getting that taken care of. And Joe's working on getting the fuel tanks that are there. This is 2 rail cars. And Joe told me today that those are empty.
They're empty. They're empty.
They'll be leasable.
This was clear grant.
What about George Gonzalez?
Actually, Daniel sent me the signed orders today.
we're gonna bid out those buildings by Border Shipyard?
I can see Border Shipyard in there, but
Why, it's jalapenos.
the jalapeno,
Next to Border Shipyard.
I need to sit down and look at those and talk to Danny probably. There was some agreements with Mr. Gonzalez as to coming in and asking the board for some additional time on one of the sites. But I would think, we haven't been into the buildings in jalapeno, we don't know what's in there.
I think he's pretty much got them all cleaned out.
Still working in there.
The yacht that's left there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem. He can't get it out because of the electrical wires across that windows.
I think that's pretty well cleaned out.
Okay.
And what about Border Shipyard? When are we gonna bid that?
That one should have come, I didn't see it in the packet. That one, we're still waiting on the judge's orders to come back.
You got any others?
We've got a few out there, so we'll go with that. It's pending with the judge.
All the Pettises, what about Pettises?
Mr. Pettis, I believe we've done the paperwork. Been in touch with Mr. Pettis quite a bit. He's clearing out in preparation for meeting. He's aware of what's coming in.
And what about the two boats that are there on Pettises?
He is right now in Houston. I'll talk to him again today. He should be back, I think, by the end of the week. And then I'll talk to Joe about moving them into our.
You're tearing up
We're-
some, so you got room to move.
Yeah, we're making room for them. We're making room for them. I think we got 3 of the old shrimp boats demolished, so we should be
I think
making
it's
room for some more.
important that we get them moved over there before they do sink, and then we,
Right.
you know, incur another $25,000.
He does have someone on those boats right now. We have seen that he is keeping them pumped, but
As soon as I can get the go ahead to move them over there, we'll get somebody to help us and tow them over there and tie them up. Again, we have room for them now, and I think Marcelino's talking about one of his boats.
One of Marcelino's boats.
Yeah, and then Marcelino has one also.
He has actually signed that one over to us as soon as he gets it moved.
That's all the question.
No problem, Joe. Item number 14, consider and take action to declare the Sharp SF 2050 copier and the Konica 7060 copier at the Administration Building and the Savin 9920 DP copier at the Harbor Master's office as surplus to the district's needs, and to authorize the salvage auction team to offer them as trade-ins.
We have a copier that was due to be retired when we bought this one, and it had a service contract that was still in effect, so we used that contract up and we waited until it's not working any longer, so that was ready to go out. We didn't want to, it's about an 11-year-old copier. The copier that we have in the back, it's been a problem. It's currently not working. It's been down in the last couple of years more than it's been working. So we're ready to go ahead and trade those two in, as well as the one at the Harbor Master's office. It's ready to be replaced.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Debbie, how much can you get for trading those? They pay you anything for
They
that?
don't charge us to call them off.
I think they charge you to pick them up. That's what I'm
Yeah,
getting at.
essentially they don't charge us to haul them off. So we're actually, as we're replacing them, we're going into leasing arrangements. That way, at the end of the lease, they come and take them and.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 15, consider and act on the following leases. Number 1, Deep South Tex Terminal LP. Vino?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Ms. Rosenbaum is under the weather, so I'll be making a presentation. This item 1 is tied into item 2, the release of the lease. And we have not received the release yet, so we recommend it be tabled, this item.
Item 1 and 2?
Yes.
Motion to table 1 and 2. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the table say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 3, Premier Services Corporation.
The agreement has been sent to the premier attorneys for their review, and they have some questions, and we're not ready to present it. Recommend that we table.
Any discussion? All those in favor of tabling say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 4, Pan American Enterprises, Inc.
This is a renewal lease, a right of first refusal. If you forget myself.
Is this one we're in litigation?
It's over by Garson Road.
It's over here.
Yeah, Pan American, right where the Union
Oh,
Carbide is.
Yes, yes. Right next to Esco.
Right, it's
Yeah,
right
they're
in
right
this
there, right
area here. Went too far. And it's just a renewal, so we recommend approval.
Second. Any discussion?
Where's the property? That's, it's not a lease, it's just a first refusal.
Yes, sir.
Where's the first refusal property?
It's right in here.
That's their lease, is right there
Right
with
behind it.
with your finger.
Yeah, I think it's to the east of it.
Yeah, I was thinking it was this one right here, right by the bridge. Isn't that right?
I think so.
Right
Yeah, it's gotta be just between their lease and the ditch.
in the Union Carbide.
All right, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 16, consider and take action on assignments, negotiations, easements, subleases, and contracts in general. Number 1, ex-USA Meat and Grain Company, Inc.
We would like to discuss this in executive session, therefore recommend table.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all of our items on our regular agenda. We stand adjourned.